It's June 2025. The world is on edge. Every news alert brings a jolt of anxiety. The hum of conflict is now a roar. Whispers of a third world war are now headlines, debated at the UN, and felt everywhere. This isn't a distant problem anymore. The lines are being drawn, and the stakes are global. What we're seeing is a series of interconnected crises, not just one conflict. The Middle East is the epicenter. The long shadow war between Israel and Iran has exploded into open confrontation, dragging in the world's biggest superpower. The United States is now an active combatant, its bombers in the air, its warships at sea. Russia is both a player and a provocateur, using the chaos to its advantage while warning the West. China watches anxiously, its economic interests at risk as global trade routes are threatened. Every nation is being forced to pick a side, or scramble for a neutral corner that's shrinking fast. The world we knew is vanishing, replaced by volatility and unpredictability. How did we get here? It wasn't one event, but a cascade of escalations and miscalculations. We need to unwind the clock, look at the key players, and understand the moves they've made. Only by understanding how we got to the edge can we ask, is there any way back, or are we about to witness the unthinkable? For years, Israel and Iran fought a shadow war. Proxies, cyber attacks, covert ops. In 2025, the war is out in the open. Israeli airstrikes hammer Iran's missile infrastructure and command centers. Iran responds with relentless missile and drone attacks on Israel. The skies over Tel Aviv and Jerusalem are filled with sirens. Iran uses its most advanced weapons, targeting military bases, airports, and research centers, proving nowhere in Israel is safe. The human cost is mounting. Hundreds dead in Iran, thousands wounded. In Israel, dozens killed, over 1,000 injured, despite Iron Dome defenses. The threat is no longer abstract, it's shattered buildings and overflowing hospitals. Iran's old strategy, power through proxies like Hezbollah and the Houthis, has collapsed. With Syria's Assad regime gone, Iran's land bridge to the Mediterranean is lost. Its proxies are silent, offering words but no real support. Iran is isolated, forced to fight alone. The regional balance has shifted and the consequences are global. The world is watching, and the stakes have never been higher. The shadow war is over. This is open conflict. Everything changed when the US military intervened directly. Under President Trump, America shifted from patience to overwhelming force. On June 22, US bombers and submarines launched massive strikes on Iran's nuclear sites, Fordo, Natanz, using bunker-buster bombs and cruise missiles. Washington called it a preemptive strike to stop Iran from getting the bomb. The message: America will not allow Iran to cross the nuclear threshold. The US Navy surged into the Mediterranean, aircraft carriers and destroyers on high alert. This is a massive gamble, celebrated by some as decisive, condemned by others as reckless escalation. By striking Iran directly, the US has turned a regional conflict into a direct confrontation. American troops across the Middle East are now at risk. The possibility of a wider, drawn-out war looms. Diplomacy is in chaos. Europe urges restraint, fearing uncontrollable violence. China and Russia condemn the strikes, calling them violations of international law. The US is isolated from some allies, while adversaries rally against American aggression. The Trump administration has made its move. Now the world waits for Iran's next step. The stakes are global, and the outcome is uncertain. The world holds its breath. The next move could change everything. As the Middle East burns, Russia watches, playing a careful game. Moscow condemns US and Israeli strikes, warning of World War III, giving Iran a powerful diplomatic ally. But Russia's support is calculated. Arms shipments, drone production, but no direct military intervention. Putin is clear. No formal military treaty, no obligation to fight for Iran. Russia uses the crisis to flex its own military muscle, testing hypersonic missiles and warning NATO to stay out of its sphere. Instability drives up oil prices, benefiting Russia's economy and distracting the US, but a total collapse of Iran would threaten Russian interests and create chaos on its southern flank. So, Russia fans the flames just enough to benefit, hoping the fire doesn't burn out of control. It's a high-stakes balancing act. Opportunism without overcommitment. This isn't just a regional fight, it's a global crisis. The danger is spillover. If Iran closes the Strait of Hormuz, global oil supplies are threatened, triggering a massive international response. A direct US-Iran war could pull in NATO allies while Russia and China might step up support for Iran to block a US victory. This is how regional wars become world wars. New fronts could open, Hezbollah attacking from Lebanon, destabilizing Israel further. Neighboring countries like Iraq, Jordan, and the Gulf states are at risk, caught between alliances and proximity to Iran. Extremist groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda could exploit the chaos, launching attacks and carving out new havens. The breakdown of state authority in the region is a breeding ground for terror. A full-blown regional war would be a dream for these groups, letting them recruit and expand. The fire once started could spread in unpredictable, devastating ways. The world is one misstep away from catastrophe. The nuclear question haunts every move. US strikes hit Iran's nuclear sites, but knowledge can't be bombed away. Iran may suspend cooperation with the IAEA, plunging its program into darkness. Intelligence says Iran has enough enriched uranium for 10 bombs if it chooses. Ironically, the US attack may push Iran to seek a bomb as its only guarantee of survival. Russian officials hint at nuclear proliferation, raising the specter of a Middle East arms race. If Iran goes nuclear, would Israel strike preemptively? Would the US escalate further? Every step brings the world closer to the unthinkable. The nuclear threshold is nearer than at any time since the Cold War. The world is on the edge of Armageddon. Far from the battlefield, India faces a diplomatic nightmare. India has strong ties with both Israel and Iran, but now must choose. Siding with the US and Israel risks energy security and key projects with Iran. Siding with Iran would alienate the US and Israel. India's calls for restraint are harder to sustain as fighting intensifies. The stakes are huge energy supplies, millions of Indian workers in the Gulf, and billions in remittances. War could force a massive evacuation and cripple India's economy. As a rising power, India can't stay on the sidelines. Its vulnerabilities are exposed. Every choice is fraught with risk in a world on fire. The first casualty of this conflict is the global economy. Oil prices spike, fueling inflation and raising costs worldwide. Airlines reroute flights, supply chains are disrupted, and uncertainty freezes investment. Developing nations are hit hardest. Higher fuel and food prices trigger unrest. The interconnected global economy means war in the Middle East sends shockwaves everywhere. Hopes for post-pandemic recovery vanish, replaced by rationing and hardship. A prolonged conflict could tip the world into deep recession. Businesses fail, unemployment rises, governments sink into debt. The economic pain is global, touching everyone from African farmers to European families. The bombs may fall in the Middle East, but the fallout lands on us all. So is this the start of World War III or just extreme posturing? The ingredients for catastrophe are here. Direct strikes, nuclear threats, alliances tested, economies strained. The cycle of retaliation spins faster, the off-ramp hard to see. But maybe this is brutal communication, nations flexing muscles, setting new red lines. The silence of Iran's proxies and Russia's caution suggest limits to escalation. There may still be invisible guardrails, but we're walking a razor's edge. One miscalculation, a stray missile, a sunken ship, a leader's pride, could ignite the inferno. The old rules are gone. New ones are written in real time with bombs and threats. Are world leaders bluffing, or have they already decided to go all in? The world waits, holding its breath on the edge of the unknown.